Sai Satcharitra, Chapter 4, Sai Baba's first advent, that is, appearance in Shirdi. Mission of the Saints, Shirdi a holy Tirth, personality of Sai Baba, dictum of Gaulibuva, appearance of Vittal, Shirsagar story, Dasganu's Bath and Prayag, immaculate conception of Sai Baba, and his first advent in Shirdi. 3 Vadas. In the last chapter, I described the circumstances which led me to write Sai Satcharitra. Let me now describe the first advent of Sai Baba in Shirdi. Mission of the Saints. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that whenever there is a decay of dharma and an ascendancy of unrighteousness, I manifest myself, and for the protection of the virtuous, the destruction of the vicious, and for the establishment of righteousness, I manifest myself in age after age. This is the mission of Lord and the sages and the saints who are his representatives and who appear here at proper times, help in their own ways to fulfill the mission. For instance, when the twice born, that is the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas, neglect their duties, and when the Sudras try to usurp the rights of the higher class, when spiritual preceptors are not respected but humiliated, when nobody cares for religious instructions, when everybody thinks very learned, when people begin to partake of forbidden foods and intoxicating drinks, when under the cloak of religion people indulge in malpractices, when people belonging to different sects fight among themselves, when Brahmins fail to do Sandhya Aradhana and the Orthodox their religious practices, when yogis neglect the meditation, when people begin to think that wealth, progeny, wife are the sole concern and thus turn away from the true path of salvation, then do saints appear and try to set matters right by the words and actions. They serve as beacon lights and show us the right path, and the right path for us to follow. In this way, many saints, that is, Nivritti, Gyandev, Muktabai, Namdev, Gora, Gunai, Ekanath, Tukaram, Nanahari, Narsibai, Sajjan Kasai, Savata, Ramdas, and various others did appear at various times to show the right path to the people, and so presently came Sri Sai Baba of Shirdi. Shirdi, a holy Tirth. The banks of the Godavari river in the Hemadpant district are very fortunate for the gave birth and refuge to many saints, prominent among them being Gyaneshwar. Shirdi also falls in the Kopargaon taluka of Hemadpant. After crossing the Godavari river at Kopargaon, one gets the way to Shirdi. When you go 3 course, that is 9 miles, you come to Nimagaon, from where Shirdi is visible. Shirdi is famous and well known as other holy tirths like Gangapur, Narshinwadi, and Odambar on the banks of river Krishna. As the devotees Damaji flourished and blessed the Mangal Veda, which is near Pandarpur, as Samarth Ramdas at Sajjangad, as Sri Narsimha Saraswati at Saraswati Wadi, so Sai Baba flourished at Shirdi and blessed it. Personality of Sai Baba. It is on account of Sai Baba that Shirdi grew into importance. Let us see the sort of personage Sai Baba was. He conquered the samsara, that is the worldly existence, which is very difficult and hard to cross. Peace or mental calm was his ornament, and he was the repository of wisdom. He was the home of Vaishnava devotees, most liberal among liberals, the quintessence of all essences. He had no love for perishable things and was always engrossed in self-realization, which was his sole concern. He felt no pleasure in the things of this world or of the world beyond. His antarang was as clear as the mirror, and his speech always rained nectar. The rich or poor people were the same to him. He did not know or care for honor or dishonor. He was the Lord of all beings. He spoke freely and mixed with all people, saw the acting and dances of nautch girls, and heard gajal songs. Still he swerved not an inch from samadhi, which is mental equilibrium. The name of Allah was always on his lips. While the world awoke, he slept, and while the world slept, he was vigilant. His abdomen was as calm as the deep sea. His ashram could not be determined, nor his actions could be determined. And though he sat in one place, he knew all the transactions of the world. His darbar was imposing. He told daily hundreds of stories. Still, he swayed not an inch from his vow of silence. He always leaned against the wall in the masjid or walked morning, noon, and evening towards the Lendi and Chavdi. Still, he at all times abided in the self. Though a Siddha, he acted like a Sadhaka. He was meek, humble, and egoless, and pleased all. Such was Sai Baba, and as the soil of Shirdi was trodden by Sai Baba's feet, it attained extraordinary importance. As Gyandev elevated Alandi, Eknath did to Python, so Sai Baba raised Shirdi. Blessed are the grass leaves and the stones of Shirdi, for they could easily kiss the holy feet of Sai Baba and take their dust on their head. Shirdi became to us devotees another Pandharpur, Jagannath, Dwarka, Banaras, and Rameshwar, Badrikedar, Nashik, Trambakeshwar, Ujjain, and Mahakaleshwar. Contact of Sai Baba in Shirdi was like a Veda and Tantra. It quieted our samsara and rendered self realization. The darshan of Sri Sai was our yoga sadhana, and talk with him removed our sins. Shampooing his legs was our bath in Triveni Prayag, and drinking the holy water of his feet destroyed our desires. To us, his commands were Vedas, and accepting his Udi, that is the sacred ashes, and Prasad was all purifying. He was a Sri Krishna and Sri Rama who gave us solace, and he was a Parabrahma, which is absolute reality. He was himself beyond the pair of dvandvas, never dejected nor elated. He was always engrossed in his self as existence, knowledge, and bliss. Shirdi was his center, but his field of action extended far to Punjab, Calcutta, North India, Gujarat, Dhaka, and Konkan. Thus, the fame of Sri Sai Baba spread far and wide, and people from all parts came to take his darshan and be blessed. By mere darshan, minds of people, whether pure or impure, would become at once quiet. They got here the same sort of unparalleled joy that devotees get at Pandharpur by seeing Vitthal Rakhumai. This is not an exaggeration. Consider what a devotee says in this respect. Dictum of Golibua. An old devotee by name Golibua, aged 95 years, was a Varkari of Pandari. He stayed 8 months at Pandharpur and 4 months Ashada to Kartik on the banks of Ganges. He had an ass with him for carrying his luggage and a disciple as his companion. Every year he made his wari or trip to Pandharpur and came to Shirdi to see Sai Baba, whom he loved the most. He used to stare at Baba and say, "This is Pandarinath Vittal incarnate, the merciful Lord of the poor and helpless." This Golibua was an old devotee of Vithoba and had many trips to Pandar, and he testified that Sai Baba was real Pandarinath. Vittal himself appeared. Sai Baba was very fond of remembering and singing God's name. He always uttered Allah Malik, that is, God is Lord, and in his presence made others sing God's name continuously day and night for 7 days. This is called Namasaptaha. Once he asked Dasganu to do the Namasaptaha. He replied that he would do it provided he was assured that Vittal would appear at the end of the 7th day. Then Baba, placing his hand on the breast, assured him that certainly Vittal would appear, but that the devotee must be earnest and devout. The Dankar Puri, which is the Thakur of Thakurnath, the Pandari of Vittal, the Dwarka of Ranchod, that is Sri Krishna, is here in Shirdi. One need not go far to see Dwarka. Will Vittal come here from some outside place? He is here. Only when the devotee is bursting with love and devotion, Vittal will manifest himself here in Shirdi. After the Saptah was over, Vittal did manifest himself in the following manner. Kakasar Dikshit was as usual sitting in the meditation after the bath, and he saw Vittal in the vision. When he went at noon for Baba's darshan, Baba asked him point blank, "Did Vittal Patil come? Did you see him? He's a very tall fellow. Catch him firmly, otherwise he will escape. If you be a little inattentive." This happened in the morning, and at noon there was another Vittal darshan. One hawker from outside came there for selling 25 or 30 pictures of Vithoba. This picture exactly tallied with the figure that appeared in Kakasab's vision. On seeing this and remembering Baba's words, Kakasab Dikshit was very much surprised and delighted. He brought one picture of Vithoba and placed it in his shrine for worship. Bhagwantrao Shirsagar story. How fond was Baba for Vittal worship was illustrated in Bhagwantrao Shirsagar story. The father of Bhagwantrao was a devotee of Vithoba and used to make annual trips to Pandharpur. He also had an image of Vithoba at home, which he worshipped. After his death, the son stopped everything, the wari, the worship, and the Shraddha ceremony, etc. When Bhagwantrao came to Shirdi, Baba, on remembering his father, at once said, "His father was my friend, so I dragged him here. He never offered Naivedya, and so he starved Vittal and me. So I brought him here. I shall remonstrate him now and set him to worship." Das Ganu's bath in Prayag. The Hindus think that a bath in the holy Tirth of Prayag, where the Ganges and Yamuna rivers meet, is very mysterious, and thousands of pilgrims go there at periodical times to have the sacred bath there. Once Dasganu thought that he should go to Prayag for a bath and came to Baba to get his darshan for doing so. Baba replied to him, "It is not necessary to go so long. Our Prayag is here, believe me." Then the wonder of wonders, when Dasganu placed his head on Baba's feet, out came or flowed streams of Ganga Yamuna water from both the toes of Baba. Seeing this miracle, Dasganu was overwhelmed with the feelings of love and adoration and was full of tears. Inwardly, he felt inspired, and his speech burst forth into a song in praise of Baba and his Leelas. Immaculate conception of Sai Baba and his advent in Shirdi. Nobody knew the parents' birth of Sai Baba. Many inquiries were made, many questions were put to Baba and others regarding these, but no satisfactory answer or information has been obtained. Practically, we know nothing about these matters. Namdev and Kabir were not born like ordinary mortals. They were found as infants in the mother of pearls. Namdev being found on the banks of river Bhagirathi by Gonai and Kabir on the banks of river Bhagirathi by Thamal. Similarly was the case of Sai Baba. He first manifested himself as a young lad of 16 under a neem tree in Shirdi for the sake of his bhaktas. Even then, he seemed to be full of knowledge of Brahman. He had no desire for the worldly objects even in his dream. He kicked out Maya, and Mukti was serving at his feet. One old woman of Shirdi, the mother of Nana Chobdar, described him thus: "This young lad, fair, smart, and very handsome, was first seen under the neem tree, seated in an asan. The people of the village were wonderstruck to see such a young lad practicing hard penance, not minding the heat and cold. By day he associated with none, but by night he was afraid of nobody. People were wondering and asking where this young chap had turned up. His form and features were so beautiful that a mere look endeared him to all. He went to nobody's door, always sat near the neem tree. Outwardly he looked very young, but by his action he was really a great soul. He was the embodiment of dispassion and was an enigma to all. One day it so happened that God Khandoba possessed the body of some devotee, and people began to ask him, 'Deva, you please inquire what blessed father's son is this lad and where did he come from?' God Khandoba asked them to bring a pickaxe and dig in a particular place. When it was dug, bricks were found underneath a flat stone. When the stone was removed, a corridor led to a cellar where cow mouth shaped structures, wooden boards, necklaces were seen. Khandoba said, 'This lad practiced penance here for 12 years. Then the people began to question the lad about this. He put them off the scent by telling that it was his guru's place, his holy vatan, and requested them to guard it well. People then closed the corridor as before. As Ashwata and Audamba trees are held sacred, Baba regarded this neem tree equally sacred and loved it most. Mahalsapati and other Shirdi devotees regarded this site as the resting place, which is the Samadhisthana of Baba's Guru, and prostrate before it. 3 Vadas. The site with the neem tree and surrounding space was bought by Mr. Hari Vinayak Sate, and on the site a big building style Sate Vada was erected. The Vada was the sole resting place for pilgrims who flocked there. A platform was built around the neem tree and lofts with steps were constructed. Under the steps there was a niche facing south and devotees sit on the platform facing north. It is believed that he who burns incense there on Thursdays and Fridays evening will by God's grace be happy. This Vada was old and dilapidated and wanted repairs. The necessary repairs, additions and alterations have been made now by the Sansthan. Then after some years, another Vada, Dikshit Vada, was constructed. Kakasaheb Dikshit, solicitor of Bombay, had gone to England. He had injured his leg by an accident there. The injury could not gotten rid by any means. Nanasaheb Chandorkar advised him to try Sai Baba. So he saw Sai Baba in 1909 and requested him to cure rather the lameness of his mind than of the leg. He was much pleased with the darshan of Sai Baba that he decided to reside in Shirdi. So he built a Vada for himself and other devotees. The foundation of this building was laid on 10th December 1910. On this day, 2 important events took place. The first one is Mr. Dadasaheb Karpade was given permission to return home. And second one, the night Aarti in Chavdi was commenced, the Vada was complete and was inhabited on the Ramnavami day in 1911 with due rites and formalities. And the third one, then another Vada or palatial mansion was put up by famous millionaire Mr. Booty of Nagpur. Lots of money was spent on the building, but all the amount was well utilized, as Sai Baba's body is resting in this Vada, which is now called the Samadhi Mandir. The site of this mandir had formerly a garden which was watered and looked after by Baba. 3 Vadas thus sprang up where there were none formerly. Of these, Satyavada was most useful to all in the early days. The story of the garden, attended by Sai Baba with the help of Vaman Tatya, the temporary absence of Sai Baba from Shirdi, and his coming again to Shirdi with the marriage party of Chand Patil, the company of Devi Das, Janaki Das, and Gangir, Baba's wrestling match with Modan Tamboli, residence in Masjid, love of Mr. Dangle, and other devotees, and other incidents will be described in the next chapter. Bo to Sri Sai, peace be to all.